All right, it's in between. Unlike many
Glad they're
times,
off.
we really don't know what we're going to talk about. Sean says he has some things. We talked at the end of the week that Phil Spector just passed away. Betty White just turned 99, so we got at least the positive news that a lovely, positive person in the world gets to live a long, beautiful life. Sean?
Yeah, I saw some image. Obviously I can't speak to the veracity of it because I just text on a picture, but it was Betty White back in the 50s when she had a talk show. She had African American tap dancer on there or something like that, and people complained about him being on there, so she had him on more and more, and then they canceled
it. She is one of those people that it's not even talking about her stance in the world and doing things like that, but just seems to embrace life and is like, so if people complain, then great. We've touched upon something. Let's push it even further. Let's keep going. And the fact that she's never slipped away from the public eye. What a beautiful, lovely lady.
Sorry. I'm choking on my own food. How did Richard die? No, she's just always so much fun. Just
I found it. So it's Arthur Duncan was on the Betty White show as a recurring performer for she had a one season run in 1954. After becoming a rating success, a controversy surrounded Arthur Duncan and repeated scheduling changes resulted in the Betty White show's quiet cancellation by NBC, who did not renew the show, according to this WFMU, which is a radio station. Duncan appeared in 3 episodes of the Betty White show, according to IMDb, and was these episodes in particular that drew criticism. When Betty White show was rolled out to TV channels across the U.S., many stations and viewers in the southern U.S. states threatened to boycott the show unless Arthur Duncan was removed, owing to the segregation laws and attitudes towards race that were prevalent at the time. In response, Betty White famously said, "I'm sorry, live with it," according to USA Today, ended up giving Arthur Duncan more airtime as a result. So yeah.
We need more people like that it's, hey, oh well.
She went from her own show in 54 to being on Mary Tyler Moore's show, where she had a good character on there.
I was just telling Abby about that the other day. She knows who Mary Tyler Moore is. Cloris Leachman, who was also on there, is one of my favorite actresses, winning the Academy Award for the Last Picture Show. And I was telling Abby about Betty White and all these things. I said, what you don't understand is what a huge landmark that was, because Mary Tyler Moore had been the subservient, sweet, picturesque little wife on the Dick Van Dyke Show that had a little bit of an attitude at the same time. She wasn't just a wallflower, but I asked Sean if he'd watched WandaVision, and obviously touching upon these kind of things like that, and you definitely get some Mary Tyler Moore-esque elements within Elizabeth Olsen's stuff. But I was telling Abby, I said, here's what you don't understand is that Mary Tyler Moore eventually went on to this show, and it was a huge landmark for women, to where these women were independent, they're on their own, and they're kind of in control of the men they date. They know this, and there's a sexuality to it in that era that was shocking.
Right. And also being a cis white male, both Cloris Leachman and Betty White were smoke shows.
Let me tell you, when I first saw, Last Picture Show is amongst my probably top 20 favorite films of all time. And when I saw that, I thought, wait, what did they do with Cloris Leachman? Because damn, she looked a lot better than this. But, and what another great lady that just doesn't give a shit about that, just wants to play a part. Right. And is so amazing as an actress. That grouping of women on that show was just, holy shit. I wish there was some sort of push on the Nick at Nights and all that, instead of showing me another succession of Friends reruns where they make fun of gay people and fat people and whatnot. Show me a show like that. Give me a show that pushed some boundaries.
Well,
are either of you bothered by Friends at all? If you watch it now?
How y'all doing with your...
Wait, what?
Bothered by what?
Are either of you bothered by Friends if you catch an episode of it now? Have you noticed how incredibly out of step it is these days?
I don't watch it.
Shelley loves it, and I get it. Some of it's funny.
They're very dated jokes. Yeah, and the 3-camera studio sitcom is very last century. That sounds hokey to say, even though people are still making them today. It feels like, the one camera documentary style, or, just one camera comedy is more acceptable. You don't need, I don't need to be told when to laugh. I don't, I can figure out when to laugh on my own. I don't need a laugh track. I don't need a studio audience.
And that's both the genius of WandaVision, where they're forcing a soundtrack on us, a laugh track.
Well, no, they're not even doing that. Do you not know how they shot WandaVision? The first couple episodes where they actually had the crew dress age appropriate, decade appropriate. So they were all participating in it, even though they weren't in camera, and they had a studio audience there watching it as well.
But what I mean by forcing, I don't mean forcing as inserting. You're forcing the idea of when I should laugh, as opposed to, today's comedies with Schitt's Creek. I'm watching it for the second time with my daughter right now, and they don't need to force that upon me. And I definitely can find out when that's funny. And you want to talk about a series that has such a beautiful, timely message that I don't think will ever be dated. It's just
beautiful.
God, that show. If you've not watched it, if you've not taken the time, open your eyes, sit down, and see the genius of Daniel Levy, who is one of my new crushes in the world. I would just sit with that man and tell me everything. Tell me your stories. An amazing presence.
Have you watched Kim's Convenience?
Have I watched what?
Kim's Convenience. It's another Canadian show about a South Korean couple who own a convenience store in Canada, and their daughter and son in their relationship, and it's 22 minutes, single camera, not documentary style, but just single camera, and it is so sweet. You find out internal racism from Koreans versus the very first episode is about gay pride. A gay pride parade is coming through, and so this South Korean man doesn't understand how to identify who is gay, and he understands it, and he wants to give a gay discount. But then one guy comes in who is gay, but he says he's not gay enough, so he's not giving him the discount. So he's trying to figure out his own, and then he figures out, and he also gets internal realism and finds out what he needs to understand. It's a really sweet show. And then his daughter, so much. And the wife, and the neighbors, oh my goodness, you're going to love it.
I'll check that out.
All right.
I want to say something to Schitt's Creek that I stayed away from. Once it won all its awards, that's when I finally said, okay, it's, and then Netflix tossed all the episodes at once. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to binge the shit out of this. And the first season, I laughed. I thought, I like it because I love Eugene Levy. I love Catherine O'Hara. And as it went along and it began to tell its story and just allow it to live, I was shocked because Daniel Levy playing David Rose, and when he forges on a relationship with a man that he becomes business partners with, my first thought was, wow, no one in this town's reacting to two gay men loving each other. And I thought it's kind of lovely that we're not going down that path. And then it was only when I finished the show that I heard Daniel Levy say, you will never see homophobia on my show because I want a world we are simply, he said, at no point do we, if we're writing heterosexual characters, do we sit down and go, how would the world around them react? And I thought, holy fuck, that is so true. And that's when Daniel Levy to me became oh my God, give this man more stuff to do in the world, because it's a simple twist of truth that makes that show that much more poignant.
So I was gonna keeping it on the streaming stuff. Everybody's watched WandaVision, yes? Rich?
Right. Well, our audience is well past us at this point. We're only 2 episodes in, so I don't know. Delve too much into WandaVision just because we're not too far in.
How about The Expanse? Is y'all watching The Expanse at all?
No.
I watched the first episode and I didn't get it. I haven't had a chance. Sean asks me almost nightly if I want to play Xbox, and the truth is that it seems like every time I turn around with an 18-year-old kid who's trying to get her life in line to go to college, it's like I intend to sit down and watch The Expanse, and it's like, hey, Dad. Okay. Hey, Dad. So I've only gotten to see that one episode. Get on The Expanse.
That's all I can tell you.
The season's good?
Oh, I get on it. But like by episode 3, you'll be pick up the jaw. All right.
Okay.
Keep going.
I like the show. I really, really do, and I hope they've stated that next season will be the last.
Be the last one, yeah.
But I've also heard the showrunners are already beginning to look around and see if anybody else wants to pick them up so they can run a little bit longer. And there are enough books for that, right?
Because Jeff, there's more books to it. I haven't. I've read to this point in the books. I haven't read past this.
Okay.
But Jeff Bezos apparently loves this show, and since he has all the money in the world, he could keep it going. If he could personally just say, "Here's my check," and just keep it going until I'm done with it. But I guess they I don't know if they've talked to the writers of the book to figure out how it's going to end together, but keep going.
Well,
keep going, Todd.
I wondered if the end of it had something to do with the press that came out about, is it Cass Anvar? Is that how you say his name?
The Texan Martian.
Yeah, that's basically the pilot of their ship has had some pretty sketchy things going on where he's harassed women, including at conventions and whatnot, and he is not going to be a part of the next season.
They've written him out somehow.
I didn't know this. I have to go look all this stuff up. I don't really stay up on gossip too terribly much.
I don't either. But
too. I'm kind of like you, Richard. I just all of a sudden I saw an article that now he's not going to be on the show anymore, and here's why.
It was like that article went hand when they came out and said next season will be the last. And by the way, Cass Anvar is not going to be a part of it. Yeah, they kind of did it
hand in hand. Yeah.
And if you then read into it, which the moment something like that, because I like his character, I like that actor, but then I start reading into it and the things that he did, it's like, oh brother, that's some really seriously wrong shit. Using your power to harass people, it's so
it's so shitty that people do that, but I'm so glad that people are calling that out now, and call it cancel culture or whatever you want, but if you're a piece of shit, you should be called a piece of shit. Now, does one action define you? No, but multiple actions do.
Well, okay.
Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times that's a pattern.
That brings me to the thought, and didn't think we'd go here, but Soho Karen, the woman that assaulted the teenage son of the jazz musician. Did we all read about that? Yeah,
I saw that.
Okay, so Richard, there was...
Oh, Richard, you don't?
I'm shocked you missed that because that was like on the front page of everything.
It's the girl that had a hat on that said Daddy on it when she was doing an interview with Gayle King.
You've not seen this?
Gayle.
Okay, so Richard...
You didn't see all this? Oh, my God, Richard.
A very quick summation.
Sean's going to send me videos later.
Later, right now.
It comes out that this woman...
He's going to talk. I'm putting the phone down.
In a Soho hotel, very nice hotel, began to accost a teenage boy saying, "That's my phone, that's my phone." His dad is a pretty famous jazz session player. And his dad's quote was, "I wanted my son to never have to experience racism, but I guess every parent can't protect all of their child." And he talked about he's holding his trumpet. He said, "This thing has been my passport that's kind of kept me somewhat safe, and I couldn't keep my son from it." Well, this woman starts accusing this child, 14-year-old child, of stealing her cell phone. She had stayed at the hotel prior to it, but was not a guest at the time. They were a guest. The hotel manager did not stop her and began telling the father, "You need to let her see the phone." And he's like, "She's not going to see shit." Well, she then tackles the child.
She tackles him.
And they didn't.
And then Dad pulls him off. And
the hotel manager, trying to defuse the situation, lets the woman leave before the police arrive.
Okay.
So he gives her the permission. Now she's not just
the phone eventually comes back. It was lost in a cab or in a Uber or something like that. So it wasn't even in the hotel.
Well, and so she's not a lily white person. She is white, but she also has Hispanic blood, something like that, akin to that, which she keeps trying to say, I have discrimination too. It's like, no, bitch, I don't care if you have discrimination too. But she does that, and as Sean said, eventually she gets her phone because an Uber driver found it in his car and delivers it back to the hotel. She gets her phone back, so it was not her phone. The reason I bring her up is in her interviews, and it's the one with Gayle King.
And I sent you the link, Richard.
The interview with Gayle King was after this moment, I guess.
Yes, Gayle King interviews her, and Gayle, who I originally kind of